Welcome to the Bike Life podcast by Warmshowers Foundation, where we will be sharing knowledge, experience, tools, and stories of touring cyclists and hosts from around the world. I'm Tara Lee, the woman behind the scenes at Warmshowers Foundation, the leading platform for cyclists looking for hosts and to connect with a passionate international community. Find out more by visiting us at Warmshowers.org. Now, on to the show.
Hey everyone, this is Jerry Kopak, the host of Bike Life, coming to you from the Rocky Mountains of Breckenridge, Colorado. Today I'm talking to James Crossley, an artist and bike tour who is launching an incredible new project called Middle Ground. Inspired by his own experiences on the road, Middle Ground is a unique artist residency on a cargo bike designed to foster both human connection and social art projects. Hey James, welcome to Bike Life.
Hey there, great to be here, thanks.
Now, where am I finding you today?
I'm speaking to you from Rotterdam in the Netherlands.
Ah, wonderful. Obviously an amazing bike culture where you live.
Yeah, it's a very special place to live. Every day I ride my bike around town and into the countryside as well. So very, very lucky to be here with that.
I've been to the Netherlands, specifically Amsterdam, several years ago, and I remember someone talking about, like, what do you do when it rains? Well, you ride your bike. Like, what do you do if the weather's not great? Like, you ride your bike. Do you feel like that's true?
Yeah, I mean, you get on with it. It's quite a compact country and compact cities, so you're only ever going to be cycling in the rain for 20 or 30 minutes. And you wear the right jacket and you get there, and maybe you've got soggy feet for the day, but it's not the end of the world. I'd much rather that than have a city full of cars and pollution. So it works out.
Yes, I have goosebumps here when you say that because I feel wholeheartedly the same way.
Hmm.
Now, what is Middle Ground, and what was the spark that inspired you to create it?
So Middle Ground it's going to be an artist residency series that's based on a cargo bike. So the idea is that artists will apply to ride this cargo bike, which is equipped for touring. Uh, Throughout summer, there's going to be 3 journeys, and each artist gets to take the bike and ride around in the Netherlands, beyond the Netherlands, and make art, connect with communities, and kind of make bridges into areas that they otherwise wouldn't get to. And the idea behind this came, like you mentioned at first, I've done quite a bit of touring, and my art background means that whenever I'm out traveling, I have that as a lens and want to kind of be writing notes, sketching, and then that emerges into projects. So I've published my own books and create kind of artwork from the journeys that I do. And eventually last summer, I was cycling for a couple of months and felt like this was a format that I wanted to take further beyond just my own artistic practice and create something new that I could share with other people and maybe would have a little bit of a bigger impact in a positive way. And that filtered down into what is now Middle Ground, which is launching very soon.
Do you have a launch date?
I do, yeah. It's launching on the 10th of March. So I'm not sure exactly when this is being published, but I assume it'll be in the public already.
Yeah, well, that's a couple days from now, so that's exciting. You must be completely stoked about this.
Yeah, I'm very excited. The tasks that I've got at the moment are a lot of just sort of email outreach. So I'm making my way steadily there, but it feels good that it's out in the world, at least partially, and I'm going to start getting some feedback from other people and see people reacting to it. So feels really good. I'm excited.
So I want to get into the details of Middle Ground, but first I want to talk about the actual art. So as you know, art could take on so many different forms. What kind of artists are you hoping will apply, and what qualities do you think will make for a great Middle Ground resident?
I think that the answer to the question maybe predictably is everything and anything, and the more diverse and expansive the idea of art and artists that apply, the better. The main goal that I'm trying to achieve is taking artists who generally live and work in urban centers and getting them out into the countryside, into small towns and villages where there's a little bit of a social and political divide between sort of the urban creative scene versus that rural, um, also creative in many ways, but a different scene also politically. So the art that I'm hoping will come about is something that's engaging with the communities that artists cycle through. So not making art about them or sketching kind of the countryside, but meeting people and building social bridges. So whether that is an artist who goes and finds a village and there's an old guy who wants to clear out his shed, and the artist uses the actual cargo bike to move all the stuff from the shed and then builds a sculpture with that. Maybe that's an artwork that they could do, or it could be someone who takes a large format camera with them and finds a community who's been living in a place with a long history of industry, and they make large format photography pieces of that community or the people and stage an exhibition while they're there. So I think it could go in any direction, but I'm just hoping for innovative ideas or interesting ways, or just interest in general in getting out there and connecting with people.
Yeah. And so you're looking for maybe, I don't know, long-term or lasting artwork, like a sculpture or a mural, or don't really care?
No, not necessarily. I think the process for me, both in my own art practice, but also for this, is more important. The only kind of expectation from the artists who are going out, who go on the residency, is that they also document what they do. So whether they leave something behind or not, whether the trip totally doesn't go as expected, as bike tours can do, and they end up sheltering from the rain, and I don't know what will happen, but as long as there's some kind of documentation and they've in some way forged a connection with somebody that they meet or a community that they meet, then I'll be happy. And it's still slightly left to be seen how it's going to work out at the end of the summer, but my intention is to hold an event or create some kind of digital exhibition or publication that will bring the three residencies together in kind of a format.
So you're launching on the 10th of March. Does that mean you have or have not gotten applicants yet?
So I've had some interest, but on the 10th of March is going to be like the public launch of
Got it.
the website and the Instagram and the crowdfunding as well. And that's when I'm hoping the bulk of people are going to start discovering the project and when artists will start applying. So there's a form online already where artists can express their interest in the project, and then I'll be following up, talking to them, and I'll also work with a selection committee of other people. So it's not just kind of a big ego trip for me, but there'll be other people who are looking at the artists who apply, and then we'll make a selection depending on how many people apply.
God, that sounds so exciting. Do you have any interest yourself about getting out there and partaking in this with a fourth cargo bike?
Well, there's actually only one cargo bike.
Oh,
Each artist uses it and then brings it back, and then the next artist will jump onto the bike and do their trip. So it's
got it.
three subsequent trips, um, each probably around 4 weeks, but totally flexible. Like because this is the first year of the project and it's all in pilot stage, it may be that I get feedback from artists all saying that's too long or that's too short, and it'll adapt. So in answer to your question, I would love to have a go on the bike. I've ridden cargo bikes a bit, and they're really good fun. And if we've got time, then I'll definitely take it out at least for a couple of overnighters. And otherwise, yeah, the priority will be getting other artists out because I get to do this anyway. I'm lucky that I managed to work to then be able to travel to. So yeah.
God, that sounds so cool. So you mentioned that you are a bicycle traveler and an artist as well. Have you had any experiences while touring that maybe showed you the power of spontaneous connections with strangers?
Oof. I mean, every day on tour, I think most people will attest that you can have great connections with strangers. The first one that comes to mind on a trip I did last year. So I'm from the UK. I haven't really spent that much time there since I left, but I wanted to go and cycle around a little bit and connect with the country in some way. And I was cycling through Wales, and in Wales as well as Scotland, there are bothies, which are like, I'm not sure what the North American term would be, like a mountain hut, this kind of
Okay,
thing.
sure.
So it's a free hut that you can go and stay in a cabin, and they're out of the way in the middle of nowhere, not quite in mountains because we don't have those in the UK and in the islands, but they're off. And I showed up at one in the middle of Wales, and there were a few guys already there, kind of cooking up and relaxing. And I found out quickly that they were the caretakers of this particular hut, and they were there on a work party, which is like a weekend where they go and fix up the hut and kind of do any chores, look after things, tidy up a little bit. And then I ended up spending a couple of days with them, and we rebuilt the fireplace. So I got to learn how to mix cement and put in a new stove. So that was quite an interesting experience of a spontaneous meeting in the middle of nowhere, which ended up in a kind of creative process of building this fireplace together.
Yeah. Now, it's funny because I have some friends from the UK and I've talked to them about how old houses are in the United States. Like, this house is 100 years old. And my friend just laughs at me. It's like, that's nothing. You guys don't have history. And I'm thinking like some of the places that maybe you're in the UK, like maybe this fireplace, was it a super old fireplace, a couple hundred years old, or a little more modern?
I don't know how old for sure, because I think the Mountain Bothy Association, which is the kind of loose organizer of all of these cabins, I don't think it is more than about 100 years old. But I think that some of the bothies are really, really old, or they've been owned by a farmer, or they've kind of been passed down and eventually given to the association to look after so that people can stay in them while they're hiking and cycling and things. So definitely some of them are proper old. And I've stayed in a few where they're kind of not in the best shape, but very sort of romantic in terms of old stone and kind of creaky doors. So
Yeah.
definitely you get the vibe.
Absolutely. And it's funny when you mention like, oh, it's not more than 100 years old, which is kind of like nothing. Whereas in the United States, like 100 years old, like that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I want to kind of get into the details of your project. Why did you choose a cargo bike as the foundation for this?
Well, I maybe a lot of listeners will also attest to when you show up in especially a small town or village on a touring bike, looking kind of frazzled and dirty and like eating peanut butter straight out of a tub. People look at you and it creates a sense of connection with people. And I figured what better way to catalyze that into something even bigger than using a cargo bike. It's even stranger of a thing to show up in a village, and instantly people will come and chat to you and wonder what it's doing. That's one aspect. It's also practical. I wanted the idea of like, I imagine at least in this first year, quite a few of the artists who will apply are already people who cycle or travel or have some connection, but not everybody's used a cargo bike. So it just increases the ability of carrying stuff and also makes it a little bit more interesting. And then I also like the idea that it's a working vehicle, it's a tool. And I think that with kind of the underlying intention of this project of building connections between urban space and rural space, between creative and perhaps more kind of left wing groups, and then between more kind of working and perhaps today right wing groups, to have a working vehicle as the base to cycle that up a hill and it be carrying a bunch of stuff. It instantly connects people no matter who you are, because there's a little bit of respect of this is a tool and it's impressive to cycle it. So yeah, a little bit of a mix of ideas here, but Yeah.
I love that. And where did the bike come from? How is this funded? Is this your bike from your living room, or whose bike is this?
No, I wish I owned a cargo bike, but I don't. The intention at the moment is borrowing a bike of a friend. Um, so someone who's actually also an artist and is currently using this cargo bike to travel around doing an art project. And
Oh,
they've graciously said that I could use it at least for this first year of the residency. So I'll fit it out and make sure it's all ready for artists to use to travel. But that's what it's going to be.
okay.
I would love in the future to get proper sponsorship and have a brand on board and give me a fleet of cargo bikes to send people around. But I think at the moment the priority is get the project going and show people what it's about, and then maybe next year, because I hope this will continue for multiple years. Next year we'll have that story to tell and maybe find a backer.
Yeah, that was kind of my next thought is you mentioned sponsorship, and I was kind of wondering how this is funded. So when people set off on their cargo bike, are they supported or are they self-funded? How does that work?
Mhm. So this first year, the budget's a little bit flexible. There's a minimum viable cost. So the priority one is to make sure that the artists do get a fee for their time and for the work that they do. So artists are going to be paid, but depending on how much funding I'm able to raise, both through institutional funding or cultural funding, arts funding that I apply to, and through a crowdfunder, which is going to be launching on the 10th of March as well. That money will primarily go to the artists because the running costs for the rest of the project, since I'm borrowing a bike, are not too high. But then hopefully the kind of the business case for it will grow, and I'll be able to put more money back into the project, apply for more funding in the future, and kind of professionalize in a way or expand for future years. But I'm still applying now, though the project is live. I'll keep applying to different funding, which in the Netherlands at least, it is possible to try and find something to support a project like this. But the crowdfunding will be crucial too.
Got it. Yeah, I was just thinking too. You mentioned you were borrowing a bike, and you're in the Netherlands. It's a bike heaven, I think. I'm wondering if was there like a bike manufacturer in the Netherlands who maybe would consider donating to a bike?
I have talked to a couple of people, both in the Netherlands and kind of there's a few cargo bike companies in Northern Europe. I think the state of the industry at the moment and the economy, and also a project like this, that it's a little bit less easy to sell in some ways with kind of a clear marketing story than someone who is doing X ride and they're going to achieve this and this is the story and they're going to make a film. I can understand why like a small cargo bike company wouldn't want to instantly give a bike away to me. So I'm still hopeful that somebody is going to pick this up and say, actually, we would love to support the project and we can loan you a bicycle. But my priority was always do the project, show the concept works, and make some impact already, and leave the kind of the bigger planning stuff to work itself out.
Got it. Which, as we're talking, I'm thinking about next year and trying to make this a recurring project. How are you defining success? Like what does success look like with this project?
Um, I think for this first year, what I want to define success is just stories to tell. Um, as long as I've got three artists who are enthusiastic about taking part, and they each get to do a journey, and they're able to document it, and we can take their stories and build that into kind of a narrative of what this project is doing. For a pilot year, I would be really stoked just to achieve that much. But I think in the long term, um, finding kind of lasting connections. I can imagine building relationships with specific communities or villages that we go back to. It may be that this project can also support regions that need to be more connected or are interested in more connection with different areas of the country. Um, and yeah, eventually a little bit more financial stability for the project too. But yeah, for this first year, I just want to see it happen. I think I'm definitely more on the artist side of the spectrum than the business person side. So
Got it. I want to go back to something you mentioned a few minutes ago about how rolling through a town or a village on a bicycle, it just kind of creates curiosity and it sort of lays the foundation for just that embedded connection. And I think that it's such a really cool idea that you are putting this project together on a bike, because as you know, as you mentioned, the world is a bit polarized right now, and trying to bring people together and create connection is such a valuable thing to do at this point. So I had a question about the kind of artist that maybe you're looking for. Do you have specifically like you want a sculptor or a photographer or a painter or a muralist, or you just whoever comes through and let's just see who's the right fit?
yeah, I think it's exactly that. Whoever comes through and applies, the application form is quite open at the moment. So if someone has got an idea they think really fits, or if someone's just really curious, then I'll have a chat with them and see how it's going to work. But I think that it's not so much about a specific artistic format and more about an approach and someone who's willing to take this experiment and try writing and meeting people. As well as I think that like I when I also work with a group of people to choose the artists, we'll want to make sure that we've got an interesting mix of people and backgrounds as well. To I think everything I do within cycling, there's a couple of other initiatives I also run. I want to kind of spread the benefits of riding bikes and anything outside the mainstream group of predominantly white privileged men riding bikes. So I'll be trying to do that both within the project and through the project's impact too.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because in my experience, I've traveled to a bunch of countries, but I'm also a white male of a certain age, and you make a great point. It is a privilege to be able to do this. That not everyone has the opportunity. So, yeah, talk to me about maybe your diversity initiatives, or if any ideas you have.
So I haven't got anything kind of set or like a diversity statement or anything. It's
Okay.
more just the way that I run projects and that I work. I would always prioritize uh, people being able to access their over kind of uh, achieving a certain goal, which is not to say that access equals less achievement, but I think it's just a different way of looking at achievement. So, where someone could create a project of going X distance or getting this kind of grand thing, my intention is the process and connecting people. And where the message and even the name of the project, Middle Ground, is about finding things that connect us and cutting through the polarization and connecting working people in a way. Artists are workers, people in the countryside are workers. That's the priority for me, and I think that connects to both an internal and external idea of diversity of who is here and who could ride bikes and who can make art.
Yeah, well said. Thank you for that. That makes complete sense to me. We're talking about riding off into the countryside of places like that. I'm thinking to myself, I know that the bike is in the Netherlands where you are. Is there any kind of set route, or just like the people have their own medium of art, they have their own route that they can choose to go venture off into?
Yeah, that's my expectation for this year. Within the proposals that artists give for doing the residency, maybe there's a route, maybe there's not so much a route, but more of like a mode of traveling. I'm quite interested in more kind of like conceptual bicycle routing. So it could be someone who says, I'm gonna follow the wind, wherever the wind's going. I'm just gonna see where that takes me, or maybe there's somewhere someone who specifically wants to go and connect with a certain community who have a heritage factory that has existed for thousands of years, and they want to go and see that in the north of Germany, or so it totally depends on what the artist proposes. Although I have been also speaking with a couple of like regions, so like tourist boards for example, Luxembourg, or there's an area in the north of France I was speaking to, because I think there's a potential for this project to actively connect with certain areas. So it may be that one of the residencies, maybe not this year, but another, will be specifically applying to go to a certain region and cycle around and use art and the cargo bike to connect to people there. So at the moment, very open. In the future, let's see where we go.
Yeah, sure. And of course, the one of the beautiful things about Europe is that all these open borders and everything is so easily to connect. So maybe people aren't just riding out of the front door of your house. Maybe they're putting their bike on a train and going to Germany or to France or to Italy, right? I mean, is that a possibility?
Um, I think it is taking a cargo bike. That's where the benefit of a normal bike actually kind
Yeah.
of pips it, because a cargo bike isn't always allowed on trains and buses, but
Ah,
it's not impossible. So yeah, if someone wants to go a little bit further, then or we could find a way to kind of chuck it on a truck and hitchhike its way along. But if the rough maximum amount of time for a trip is 4 weeks, and someone prioritizes getting somewhere a little bit further away, you could still do a pretty good distance. Although the Netherlands is flat, compared to the surrounding countries, there's still quite smooth traveling, at least towards kind of into France and into Germany. So I think artists could get a reasonable way, and then let's see how they get back.
yeah, I love that. It kind of keeps everything kind of open for people's own creativity.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm thinking about cargo bikes, and I've seen two different varieties. I've seen one that kind of has the bulk of the cargo in the back, and I've seen the one that has the bulk of the cargo in the front. Which one is yours?
So the one that I'm borrowing is a Larry versus Harry bullet bike, which has
Okay,
a front low loaded platform. So yeah, you've got everything ahead of you. Although I'm intending to put a rack and panniers on the back, so the artist equipment will all go in the front, or whatever, a flexible load space, and then the back has got kind of tent and the basics for traveling.
got it. Do you think it requires any kind of special bicycle skills to be able to drive one of these? Because I've been riding bikes most of my life. I've never ridden one of these. Is there some kind of learning curve?
There's a brief learning curve, but it's not too bad. Once you get used to it and you take it a little bit slow, then you're fine, and it feels supernatural. Um, it does vary per cargo bike as well. Like if you ride something that's more the like traditional bike shape, like an Omnium, which still has a big deck at the front, then that really feels just like riding a bike. The bullet bike is a little bit more like a truck, but then if you've got a big load, if someone decides they do want to carry a bunch of artistic equipment, it's a bit more stable for the journey, and it's also a bit more adjustable in terms of what size. Because I've
Ah,
only got the one bike, if an artist is 150 centimeters, sorry, I don't know what that is in feet. If an artist if an artist is 5 foot versus being 6'5", then
yeah.
then it needs to be adjustable in some way. So the bullet bike is quite good for that.
And I'm guessing there's plenty of gears, even though the Netherlands is flat, in case they try to go someplace else. There might be a hill or a mountain pass. Like I'm
Yeah,
guessing that.
no, it's geared well enough that the person I'm borrowing it from actually has ridden it all the way to Morocco and back,
Wow.
and they managed fine. So starting off in the Netherlands, you get a smooth start to the journey, and then it's uphill and downhill from there.
You think it probably weighs what, 50, 60 kilos?
For the bike,
Yeah.
uh, I don't think it's that crazy. I think
Okay.
I think more like maybe 20 kilos, but I'd have
20.
to look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, it's basically the same weight as a bike, but then just a bit more frame. So, yeah.
All right. So it sounds like
you're not going to be lifting it over fences, but I think it's semi-maneuverable.
do you have experiences lifting bikes over fences?
Yeah, I've definitely ended up on the wrong side of a few fences and shouldered the bike or had to chuck a load of bags up a cliff and then go back down to bring the bike. But usually for good reason.
Where was that, out of curiosity?
Um, I did a bit of cycling on the east coast of Italy,
Ah,
and whenever like there's a nice beach, there's not easy access. So I would kind of drag the bike or take the bags off and then go back for the bike and then be able to sleep on the beach. Um, and then yeah, do the same back because if there's an easy road, then cars can get there and you're not gonna have a nice quiet night.
yeah, understood. Um, well, March 10th is right around the corner. I know you must be super excited and you probably have a few more things to plan, but hopefully things are falling in line as for expectations. Is there anything else that you're still working on before your big launch day?
So I've still got quite a lot of things on my to-do list. There's a lot of people to email, double checking that the crowdfunder's going, gonna start posting on the Instagram. Also made a bunch of flyers. I did some printing at a local print shop here. And I'm gonna give those out to bike shops and art spaces in the Netherlands. So yeah, just a lot of kind of getting things going, spreading the word so that hopefully on Monday I can hit the ground and get some attention for the project and the right people hear about it.
Yeah, I love this. And I'm so happy that we got a chance to talk today. And I really hope that we can help support you in this initiative because I think it's going to be really, really important for society and the world in general. So,
Thanks.
how can listeners get involved in supporting or spreading the word about this cause, about this project?
So the website for the project is middleground.jamespac.net. Not the most professional of a website URL, but that's what I'm going with for this first year. And then that links to a bunch of stuff. It explains the story. It has some press details if you want to share out. But then you can also check out the Instagram, which is at Cargo Arts. That's ARTS. And there I'm going to be posting details at the moment, just kind of announcing the project. And then hopefully throughout the project, they'll be documenting the artist journeys and the things that get made. So you can also follow along there. And there's also a crowdfunding. I'm pretty sure the URL for that is mgcrowdfunding.jamespac.net. But you can also find it linked on the Instagram and on the website. So if you want to donate even a tiny amount, that will help towards making the project a reality, paying for artists, getting equipment sorted out. So that would be incredible too.
And we're going to have all links to those in our show notes so people can click on them and go and help support your project.
Thanks so much.
All right, James. Thanks so much for sharing all your stories and talking about Middle Grounds. I want to thank everyone for listening today for my conversation with James Crossley. And if you enjoy our show, give us a like, a share on our social channels, or maybe just tell your friends. These stories hopefully will inspire you to set off on your own bicycle adventure and maybe make the world feel a little bit smaller, one pedal stroke at a time. My name is Jerry Kopak, and until next time, keep riding.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed making it. Wherever you are listening, please leave us a rating and a review as it helps us reach more cyclists and hosts around the world. Visit us at Warmshowers.org to become a part of our community or on Instagram at Warmshowers_org. If you would like to be a guest on the show or submit a question, please make sure to email us at podcast@warmshowers.org.